What's up, y'all? This is the Verbal Architect back with another video on Mixing Tips 101. Today I'm going to be talking about compression and just basic vocal compression. I'm not going into any compression on instruments or anything like that. It's just going to be vocal compression today. And probably the easiest way to put compression, I'm going to use a metaphor that I actually learned from somebody else, but I'm going to use that as an example because that's always been the easiest way for me to understand how a compressor works. So basically, just imagine you're in the car riding around with your mom listening to music, and you're playing your music loud, and every time the music gets too loud, she'll go and turn it down. And then you'll wait a second and it's too low, you'll go back and turn it up. And then that just keeps happening over and over. And as I go through the compressor here, I'll kind of show you examples of how that relates to the metaphor. So let's get started. Alright, I got a track loaded up. It's called My Happy Place, a new track off the upcoming album Fantastic Classic. I got all the other effects on the main vocal for the first verse bypassed. So basically right now it's just the vocal, how I recorded it, no effects on it, and I'll show you what the vocal sounds like with the beat. The vocal is going to be definitely drowned out a whole lot. You'll barely be able to hear the vocals because you use that compressor just kind of like an EQ. The compressor makes it so it shortens up the peaks on the audio waveform, but makes it so it increases the volume. So you can basically have a track that you have turned up to the point you can't turn it up anymore, and it still doesn't blend with your beat because your beat's too high in the mix. You want to add a compressor, and then that way increase the overall volume of your vocal track and bring it up into the mix. But you don't want to overcompress. Overcompressing can make stuff sound muddy. It takes out too much stuff from the vocals and ends up just making the vocals sound way too muddy. So I will let you hear it now, just the vocals and the beat without anything on it, no compressor, no EQ, no effects. Alright, that's without anything at all. Now I'm going to click the bypass button on my compressor. I will show you how I have my compressor set up in a second, but I'm just going to show you what the compressor does to my main vocal now once I take the bypass off.
Be the humble, under the breath and the wind we mumble. Paved all the cracks so you never see us stumble. At night, eyes get high off the light beams. Spells of protection so the kids don't have the night dreams. No worries about the outside, protected by cold steel. Picture me awake, is this artifact real?
Alright, there you go, and you can definitely tell that's right up in the mix now, right where I want it, right up in front of the beat. And that's all because the compressor is letting me turn it up to the point where I can get it up in that area. Alright, so the first most important thing about a compressor is the threshold. The threshold is the point at which the audio is compressed. You're going to set a certain level with the threshold, and that's going to tell it where to compress your audio once it gets to that point. And I'll show you where the threshold is quick. It's right down here in Pro Tools on this compressor. I have it at -30 dB. I have default vocal compressor opened up, but I tweaked some stuff in here, so I have it how I kind of want it. Next thing is the ratio. The ratio is right here. It's how much compression is going to take place once the audio gets up to that threshold that you set. So it's basically how much compression is taking place once the audio gets up to your set threshold. Next thing is attack. An attack is basically how fast the compression takes place once it gets above the threshold. Next thing, release. Release is how fast or how slow the compression stops once it goes below the threshold that you set. And the metaphor that I was talking about before, it can relate as into the threshold is how loud your music has to be to where your mom turns it down, and the ratio is how much she turns it down when it gets too loud. The attack is how fast your mom reaches over to the knob and turns it down, and then the release is how fast or slow you go back and turn it back up once it gets below that threshold. So that, the metaphor, once I heard of that, it kind of made it easier for me to understand a compressor. It's basically just something automating your volume control on the track you have it on, so it's controlling your peaks, it's not letting anything get too high, and it still lets you increase the volume. So for my vocal compressor, I have, like I said, the default vocal compressor preset, but I have the gain boosted up a hell of a lot more than they have it set at. I have my attack increased a little bit. Usually just gotta, compressor's one of those things that it's such a deep thing, you just gotta sit and mess around with it, kind of get to know how you like to compress your vocals. And like I said, don't over compress, because your vocals you can take away everything from your vocals. So basically that's my video on compressors. This is the Verbal Architect with Underground Visionaries, undergroundvisionaries.com. We do mixing, recording, writing, logos, custom beats, and custom samples. And if you wanted a song mixed by the Verbal Architect, get at my email at undergroundvisionaries@hotmail.com and just drop me a little bit of info on the song and how you want it mixed, and we can get to the next step. So this is the Verbal Architect signing out for Mixing Tips 101 Compression. Thank you.